and welcome. I'm just going to do a quick introduction and while everybody else comes in. So welcome everyone to From Crickets to Click SEO and Digital Marketing that actually works. My name is Manahil, and as people are coming in, I am the Administrative and Event Coordinator at the Innovation Cluster. I'm really, really excited to have all of you here with us today, whether you're here to fix your website, boost your brand, or finally figure out what the heck SEO actually does, you're in the right place. For those of you who may be new to us, Innovation Cluster is a startup ecosystem based in Peterborough, and we help entrepreneurs grow and scale with purpose through mentorship, community, and programs built for real-world impact. Now onto the real star of the show, Trista Greer. Trista is the powerhouse founder behind The Love of Marketing. And she's an award-winning agency. She has an award-winning agency that's helped businesses generate over $80K annually just by getting smart with SEO. She's the kind of person who can explain search engines optimization without making your eyes glaze over. So she can even get you excited about it. So today's workshop is super hands-on. We'll be walking through case studies on what actually works when it comes to SEO and how it supports your social media, paid ads, print marketing, and the whole toolkit. Just a few quick things before we dive in. I'll be watching the chat throughout the session. So if you have questions, drop them in and I'll make sure they get to Trista. Feel free to turn your cameras on. We love to see your faces. And as you can see, Carl's also wondering why no one's showing their face. So yeah. And most importantly, don't be shy. The space to ask questions, swap ideas, and learn something that you can actually before the Zoom call ends. So that being said, I'm going to hand it over to Trista. Over to you.
Hey guys, thank you so much for having me today. It's so nice to see. I think we got a couple of faces on camera. I think we got a whole 6 people, so that's pretty good. I love when people start turning them on and we all bring up that courage to start flicking them on. So feel free to turn them on. She mentioned that it's going to be something that isn't making your eyes glaze over. You're not going to fall asleep. And an element of that is like turning on your camera, feeding off of each other's energy, nodding your heads. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions and, it's nice to see some head nods. So I'm not all by myself over here. So if you want to turn them on, I mean, that would be super great. I'm sure you guys are all super good looking too. So win for everyone. Okay, we're going to kind of hop into it. Are you guys ready? Thumbs up. Let's test it. Make sure the cameras are working. Awesome. I got some fireworks back here. I'm celebrating. Okay. Now the real question is, can I get my camera to work? Yay. Okay. So she gave an introduction, a bit about who I am. Thank you so much. I'll give a little bit more about kind of who I am and like why what I say actually has some weight or merit to it. I am 23 years old. I just turned 23 July 6th, actually. And usually when I say that, people kind of like check out. They're like, okay, she's really new, doesn't really know what's going on. And I think that's a valid statement. But I've been in this industry since I was 17, so going on 7 years now. I started the marketing company after seeing a gap in my local real estate office, Royal LePage from Halliburton. Does anyone know where Halliburton is? Anyone at all? Oh my gosh, I see a hand. Okay, Nick. Okay, Jackie. Yeah. Okay, so in Halliburton, really, really small, rural, cottage country, really, really good group of real estate agents, but they weren't digitizing. Like their website was like fresh out of 2001 and it was 2016. Not good. And they were working with a lot of people from Toronto, the GTA, but they were doing like newspaper and radio ads in Halliburton. So there's a huge disconnect there, right? So what we ended up doing is we ended up taking that budget, putting it towards digital. They ended up becoming one of the top 1% brokers. We ended up getting them a $5 million listing because of that visibility. And a $5 million listing, in cottage country is pretty good. We ended up getting it on HGTV, Private Islands Inc., where a TV personality actually ended up buying the property. So that was a really cool origin story. That all started when I was around 16 doing that internship. So everything was kind of birthed from there. And obviously, it's our wonderful team. I have a background from Trent University and Harvard Business School Online in digital strategy. And just like they were saying, our company actually was we won the Canadian Choice Award for Best Marketing Company in the country, which is pretty cool. Anyways, that's enough of the boring stuff about me. Let's get into like some fun stuff that you guys are like actually here for. My favorite part when I go to seminars is when I don't just like sit there and like get peppered with information, but I can actually kind of think a bit critically on the subject we're talking about. It allows for like a lot of that reflection. So just kind of a raise of hands, perhaps, like when was the last time you Googled your business? Like, have you Googled it in like the last week? If you have, just like raise your hand. Okay, I see a couple of hands. Okay, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Okay, the last month. Have you looked it up in the last month? Okay, cool, cool. Let's do 6 months. Okay, cool. I did see some hands not go up, and that's okay. That is like a totally normal thing, especially for people if you're business owners. You're busy doing other things. So it's a really good opportunity to just kind of like check ourselves and realize, okay, some of these elements are a bit more in our control than we might think. Some takeaways kind of when it comes to this question is that many people don't regularly check it. So you're not alone. But your online reputation is in your control. And that SEO isn't just a technical jargon anymore. Okay. If someone were to search for your service or your product, and not just type in your name, would they find you? So if they were looking for a pizza place and you own a pizza business and they typed in pizza near me, do you think you would show up? Go ahead and raise your hand. Do you think you would show up? Okay. So a lot of the things people get stuck on like their branded searches. So what I mean by branded searches is when they type in your business name directly. Let's say it's Paul's Pizza Business and they type in Paul's Pizza Business and you show up. Great. Branded search. Those are people that already knew they were going to work with you. So you already had their business whether you showed up or not. But for people that are looking for pizza near me, they're kind of inquiring and trying to figure out all of those options. So if you're not showing up for those general searches, you're not being found is kind of the moral of that story. Once again, visibility is beyond your name. People get stuck on their name, especially if you have more like a personal brand or a service. You see it with like insurance people or realtors. They get stuck on the name and not necessarily, real estate near me or whatever it might be. But there's a lot of business growth opportunity here, and we'll kind of get into it a bit more later. Okay, have you ever clicked past page 1 of Google? Anyone gone on to page 2 of Google? Yeah, okay, okay. Anyone gone on to page 3? Okay, so we drop off around page 3, which makes total sense. 62% of people actually make it to the second page of Google. The running joke within my industry is that the best place to hide a dead body is on the second page of Google because no one's really going there. So what we really want to do when we're working on our search engine optimization is we want to be on that front page. And we're going to talk about a couple of tricks to kind of get us there. Okay, so the moral of the big question, right? What is SEO? What does it stand for? And is it dead? That's a question I get all the time. So right off the bat, when I say SEO, does anyone know what that acronym means? Okay, got some hands. Okay, cool. This is great. This is a good start. So SEO in the long and short is search engine optimization. SEO is how people find your business. Mostly when people think of SEO, they think about Google. Google being like the main search engine. There is DuckDuckGo, but I bet most of us are using Google. But search engine optimization has evolved so much in 2025, where if you're thinking it of just as Google, you're kind of missing it. So we're going to kind of explore that a bit more and the nuances of search engine optimization. But overall, it is whether you are appearing on a platform. That platform could be Instagram. That platform could be Google. It determines your ranking system, essentially. Okay. Once again, it is not dead. A theme I get a lot is because you can pay to appear on Google, why would you put any money or efforts into SEO? And I think that's a pretty valid question, right? However, we always like to talk about the consumer and their end of things. And we also like to look at numbers and facts because numbers don't lie. So when it comes to those paid searches, only 2.1% of people are actually clicking on that little tag that says sponsored. You'll see them wherever you go. You type in a restaurant, you type in a hairdresser, you type in a dentist office, someone's likely holding that sponsored spot. People don't want to click on it. It doesn't have a lot of trust, and no one wants to be sold anything. So they typically go to the organic rankings. You'll typically see them in those little boxes. Your first organic spot gets 39.6% of the clicks, and you don't have to pay per click, which is really, really important because it can get really expensive when you start doing a pay-per-click system, right? It can be $10 per click, and it could just be like your competition just clicking on it for fun, and nothing really comes of it, right? So organic is really, really important. It is not dead. It's just evolved, just like it always has, right? You think about when you used to like Google the weather when like Google first came out, it would take you to a link to a news article, and then there you could find where the weather was. Now when you type it in, it just automatically knows your location and will tell you the temperature right there. You don't even have to click on anything. That's just an evolution. So we're just in another wave of evolution with Google, but it's definitely there. Okay. When looking at how SEO works, I find the best way to look at it is just through something tangible. I feel like you can hear theory and you can hear explanation all day, but you're like, okay, like what do I actually do with it? So we're gonna look at just like I call it like a business analysis, kind of a competitive analysis. We're gonna look at someone's standing, and we're also gonna look at their competitors, and we're gonna look at things we could do to help increase their visibility and their growth together. Okay, so we're going to look at real estate as the category. Real estate is obviously, that's my expertise and background. I've worked in product before and typically work a lot in the service industry, but this is a report ranking from Google. So this is what Google uses to judge whether they want to show your site or not. Some of these criteria you will notice will apply to your industry and some won't. Right off the bat, you're probably looking at this and going, okay, 32%. That is a bad score. For this industry in particular, 32 actually isn't that bad. Right away, you're going to notice some things that Google ranks you off of, but that aren't relevant to the real estate industry. One, being in e-commerce. This can apply to different kinds of businesses too. It is someone going onto your website to buy something with a credit card or a debit card. Yes or no? So if that is a no, you're going to automatically get an F in this section because you don't have an e-commerce setup, but that's not really applicable to your category. So it does affect your percentage, but it doesn't apply to you. Advertising, this is whether you're doing paid advertising through Google. As much as AIs and softwares are advanced now, we can't necessarily know what they're doing everywhere for their advertising. So this only scrapes Google. And we'll get into a bit more of what each of these categories mean, because even though there's one SEO category, these all affect your SEO because it's 2025 and it's all interconnected. So this is a group out in Kingston, actually. So this is a competitor analysis here. Then we've got a competitor analysis for Shannon. Shannon is at 25, so we can see it's dipped a little bit more. And then we can see we've got Anne here. Anne is dipped down to 18%. And then we can see our main man who we'll be focusing on today, Paul. Paul's at 7%. So we're going to use Paul as kind of like a case study for you guys. If you're sitting somewhere between like 0 and 20%, usually your report cards kind of have the same flaws in them. Okay. Okay, let's get into it and explore how we can improve on his marketing. So has anyone ever searched for a business and found the wrong hours, location, phone number? Has anyone ever experienced that before?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Hands and nods. Nice, guys. Okay. I have too. I have sent out postcards and they bounced back because people had their wrong locations. I have fully showed up somewhere. I'm like, I'm gonna go eat some dinner tonight, and it's just been closed. It's a very common thing because people build their business listings, but then like never update them afterwards. So it's not necessarily a one and done. Has anyone heard of a business listing before? Okay, I see a couple nods, a couple shakes. Okay, this is good. This means it's something new. The odds are is you have all encountered a business listing before. It's when you're Googling something, it's that little box that shows up on the side. It will have a picture, it will have their NAP system, so that's their name, address, and phone number. How you can contact them. Their Google reviews will also be listed there. That's your business listing. Your main one is Google if you're using a Google platform. Other business listings could be Yelp, Yellow Pages, your Facebook, Instagram. Those are all business listings. And there's business listings per geographical area. Usually there'll be about 32. Now, no one is going to Yelp or Yellow Pages to find their dentist, to find their chiropractor, to find their realtor, to find their pizza place. That's just a straight up fact. But where they are going is Google, and where Google goes to make sure that this person is an authority is business listings, because they are other reputable sources. So they're looking for other reputable sources to confirm that they are reputable and should show you. The reason being is Google functions off of an EAT algorithm. Has anyone heard of the EAT algorithm before? No? Okay, cool. So this is essentially how it determines whether to show a piece of content over another piece of content. The more kind of check marks you have, the better favor you are with Google, the more odds your content is to be shown. EAT stands for expertise, authority, and trustworthiness. Can we show Google these three things? This is a way to show that you are trustworthy because other sites are vouching for you. A lot of people, we always focus on your main business listing. Another element of this is everything done correctly? It's really, really finicky, Google. And there's a reason why it really favors itself for ranking is because you have to be so particular to meet those criteria. For instance, let's say you have an address and it's 123 Water Street South. And you have street spelt out ST on your Google business, and then you have South spelt it with an S on your Google business, and then you go to your website and street is spelt out STREET, and then South is spelt all the way out. Those are inconsistencies. You are flagged, and therefore you are ranked lower because you're affecting your trustworthiness because you are being inconsistent. So these are little ways that we can tweak our current exposure to just work more in our favor. We can tidy up those inconsistencies. I guarantee you your competitors have inconsistencies. So that's going to pull you further up in your business listing ranking section, when we're looking at those report cards, which will help with your overall visibility. Something that's really, really easy to do. Another one is getting on more available business listings. Obviously, the more you're on, the more authority you have. Common ones, once again, Facebook, Instagram, X, LinkedIn. Those are all really reputable sources that you can easily be on and be on with consistent metrics. Another really cool feature of business listings is the ability to post content on here. Didn't anyone know you can post content on your Google My Business? That's okay. You guys aren't alone. No one really knows this. It's at the very bottom. The reason why this is important, and once again, a consumer isn't going to your Google My Business to see your social posts, but it's showing Google that you are up to date. Google updates 2 to 3 times a day. There's a lot of updates that's going on. So they want to show people who are also updating their content. So this is another passive way to update that business profile with relatively low efforts involved. Okay, can anyone share a time that the last time they saw a Google review that helped them make a decision of what they should buy or where they should go? Yeah, Nick, fire away.
Sorry, I have a question related to what you just commented on. So posting on your business listing improves your ranking. Is that not also true for something like your website if you have a blog and you're constantly posting?
1000%, Nick. I do have a whole section on like your website stuff, and your blog it's bang on. It's another way to be consistent on that main asset that it's pointing to. So yes. Great question. Okay. Well, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Does anyone want to share the last time they encountered a Google review that swayed their decision? Yeah, go ahead. I think it's Jacqueline. Am I saying that right?
Hi, yes, Jacqueline. I was just looking for a home inspection service actually for a new home that I offered on, and I read reviews of one of the home inspectors that my realtor recommended, and they weren't so positive, so I veered away. Definitely, and I have to say, when I see Google reviews where there's not many, I'm also a little bit wary, just in general.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great point. I love the home inspector too, right? Because you want to really trust that person going in. So yeah, I think that's a really great perspective. The one I like to give too is like restaurants. If I'm going to eat somewhere, am I going to eat at the restaurant that has bad reviews? Probably not. If you encounter them too when you're on Amazon and you're reading reviews on Amazon, reviews are really, really important. So each industry, your review ranking on Google is going to differ depending on what industry you're in. Each industry has different averages. So for real estate, for instance, the average amount of Google reviews a realtor has is 5. So it's pretty easy to get over that average when it's 5. Once again, it's going to fluctuate per industries. And then it will rank you based off of industry leaders too. So who are people that are doing really, really good in your category? And where are you in comparison to their standing? So for real estate, it's 189 Google reviews. The average is 5, the leaders are 189. So kind of knowing those numbers as well gives you a really good goal to work towards. Okay. Next 3 years, I want to do X amount of deals, which will hopefully equal X amount of reviews, or I'm going to put in a review system so I can really push that forwards. Reviews is a huge way of ranking because it's someone else vouching for you and vouching for your services. It's open form. That's why sometimes you see Reddit a lot of the time also popping up as answers, because it's open form. It's real people answering the questions, which is really, really valuable. A lot of businesses work off of word of mouth testimonials. Does anyone's like backbone of their business is like word of mouth with testimonials or repeat and referrals? Okay. Not a lot of people. Well,
I'm sorry, there is a question, actually a comment by Benjamin in the chat.
yeah.
It's hi there. I think it would be really appreciated by everyone if you could walk us through the algorithms of YouTube, Google, and etc. if possible, since we could really use them to grow our audience and clients.
Yeah.
So
What was
just
it? Sorry. Walk through what? Sorry?
it's could you walk us through the algorithms of YouTube, Google, and other websites if possible?
Yeah, those are all separate beasts. I think for the purpose of this call, I think focusing on Google is going to be your best bet. If you are looking at a YouTube content strategy, it's going to be entirely different than this. And this is essentially walking you through what the algorithm wants to see. So the backbone of the algorithm for Google is EAT, expertise, experience, authority, and trustworthiness. Are you showing and proving those things? And these are the ways that we can show Google and to meet that criteria. So that's like the simplified version of the algorithm. And then these are the outputs we can show it. YouTube is a whole nother beast. And it was going to involve your yeah, I wouldn't even touch on it right now, but that would be a good one. That'd be another good seminar though. But yeah, that's a great question. Okay. Any other questions?
No, not that I see here.
Yeah. So we talked about that NAP system earlier. This is what I was talking about. So if you want to sync everything, if this is how you have your address laid out on Google, make sure this is how you have your address laid out across platforms. Reviews, once again, they're going to pull you up in ranking. So this is also good for people that have a business that functions on Amazon. Reviews there is going to help solidify, it's going to validate, it's going to make you an authority in the space, and it's going to help bring up that ranking once again. Nick, I think I see your hand raised.
Maybe I'm mistaken, but if you're trying to show something from your screen, I'm not seeing anything. Maybe it's my mistake. I'm not sure.
Okay. Am
Uh,
can anyone else see it?
yeah,
I had
we're on the page for reviews and address.
you have to change your own view. I adjusted my view and now I'm able to see the screens
Like on
on
top, the tab
the
on
top.
Zoom, yeah, you see meeting and the screen, so you can change the tab on top of your Zoom window.
It's highlighted under speaker, so uh, da, 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 da. Hmm. Oh, there's a tab at the top that says Trista Greer screen.
Yep.
My apologies, I didn't see that.
That is a-okay. I'm glad you asked because someone else might have been running into the same problem. Okay. I think another thing that comes up is social media marketing, and YouTube kind of plays into it. It's not an icon that's here because once again, it's its own kind of beast. But social media is something that comes up pretty prominently, what people want to do to promote their business. But what no one realizes is there's a huge impact when it comes to SEO, not only when you're creating content, but showing up on Google. So I think a really important question to always ask yourself, and maybe ask yourself kind of, silently in your head, is what role does social media play in your sales funnel? If you have a social media strategy, if you don't, where would it lie? And in turn, it's going to be able to help you answer, who is your social media for? Right off the bat, can anyone tell me where their social media lies in their sales funnel? That's okay. Sales and marketing are so interconnected, and we always hear sales funnel, but we never really hear the term marketing funnel. So that's always a really important question to ask yourself. It's going to change for everyone, and that's kind of for your own self-discovery. But then the follow-up question to that is, your social media linked on your website? How many of you have your social media linked on your website? Yay, lots of hands. Okay, so super applicable to you. Remember how we were talking about how these are a main business listing? So your social platforms are backlinked to your website and vice versa. They're pointing and communicating with one another. So how active you are on that platform also affects your social media ranking. So if you're not doing something on one platform, but it's linked to your website, it still affects your website. When people say it's a big interconnected web, like they couldn't be more right. Whatever is happening somewhere else, if it's pointing or connected in some shape or way, it does affect the other output, unfortunately. So social media is so interesting because it is always changing and it is so fast paced. In terms of this, we are going to stick on our Meta platform. So it's going to be our Facebook and Instagram, and we're going to also stick with LinkedIn, TikTok, and YouTube. Once again, those very video heavy platforms have their own. TikTok has a very aggressive algorithm, and we're not going to touch that for this conversation. We're going to talk about our main kind of research platforms here. What's really cool about this is local SEO benefits. We can also see user behavior changing on these platforms. So in 2020, 1% of people used social media to answer their queries. Meaning when we go to Google, we're usually asking a query. What is the weather? Best pizza place near me. And it's going to give us an answer to our query. People are now using platforms like Instagram to go and answer their questions instead of Google. There's a 16% increase. So in 2024, 17% of people started to use the platform this way, which is really, really powerful because that's going to sculpt what kind of content we make, how we phrase our content, how we write our content, and get it ready so we can answer those questions and queries people might be answering. So it's a huge shift in user behavior on a platform. Another element is, content and media mix. We talked about, that idea of a marketing and sales funnel. And I noticed no one raised their hand. So I figured probably a good topic to touch on. Oh my gosh, and I have a slide for it. What are the odds of that? obviously awareness, consideration, conversion, and retention, there's different words for them. Everyone has like their own kind of words that they like to use with them. These are the ones I associate with it. And we'll talk about it from a marketing standpoint as well, so you can get a different kind of perspective on it. So your awareness, this is your broad reach, and this affects your Google because certain terms are going to be a broad reach. So if they're looking for pizza places near me, if they're looking for a real estate agent, they're looking for chiropractor, whatever that general search query is, that's awareness. They're usually in research mode. They don't really know who they're going to pick. They're kind of casting a wide net, and they're making decisions based off of, social proof and evidence and data that they see. So marketing efforts towards this is, Nick talked about, blogging. Are you showing up for those big words? Are your images, all of your images on your website, they should be labeled. This is a good way to rank for those words that are broad. You can bring in terms like, I always use real estate terms, real estate agent. You can use where you are located specifically if you really function out of a geographical region. Label all of them. If you don't label all of them, an AI will do it, but they will be the worst prompts you've ever seen in your life. The beauty of having our friend chat now is they can help you out with it, right? They know what an SEO alt text is. You give them your keywords and they will help blend it seamlessly into a sentence structure for you. You want those alt texts to be like a sentence, you don't want it to sound too pushy. It's not like, Paul, best realtor in Peterborough, real estate county, whatever it might be. Like, you want it to sound real and like you're having an actual conversation, or like you would read it and it makes sense. So your awareness is kind of that really broad reach where you might get a whole bunch of people, but not all of those people convert. Your consideration phase, this is where a lot of your social media comes into play, your organic presence and your website. So that's why it's important to rank. Once again, you can't have awareness, then they can't consider you if you're not ranking. And then, is everything optimized for them? Optimization is a huge factor in ranking, and we'll get into that a bit more when we talk about websites. But does it make sense? Is your layout intuitive? Are you optimized for AI searches, right? FAQs is a really good way so you can come up for those AI prompts. Your organic social media presence, it's what can sway them in the consideration and conversion stage, right? If they go to your website, they like what they see, they go to other places, once again, that idea of social proof, to build confidence that what they're feeling is correct. We all like to think we make rational decisions, but we don't. We're humans, right? We play based off of a lot of our emotions and how we're feelings, and we look for things to rationalize what we're feeling. So we think with our it's your limbic brain is on your inside and your neocortex is on your outside. Really kind of like simplified like neuroscience. Essentially what we feel is in that little tiny part, right? Your amygdala, your hippocampus, it's all kind of in there. It's when someone asks you, let's say you're with your wife or your partner, and you're like, why do you love this person? And the answers you normally come up with aren't really that great, right? You're like, I love them because they're nice or because they're kind, but that doesn't really describe how you actually feel about them. Your internal brain is not really good at verbalizing how it feels. So it looks for things that it deems rational to move forward in those decisions. Things that are rational, your Google reviews, website design and layout, what type of content you are and aren't sharing on your social media. A really cool study was done by Tide. Has anyone heard of Tide? Okay, I'm surprised I don't see a lot of hands up here. Okay, Tide, the Tide Pods, people used to eat them. Okay, so they did this study to try to figure out how to best communicate and like make their product better for their clients. People, they're filling out the survey, they're like, no, what do I want from Tide? Like, what would Tide give me that would make me happier? And they're like, I don't really know. Maybe like my white clothes to be brighter, or like my, that saying of like my whites to be whiter. I guess that's what I want. Like my clothes to be more clean, I guess. People don't really know how to rationalize it, right? They just know what they're feeling. What they ended up doing throughout the study is they communicated with people. And what they realized people did in their clothes washing cycle is they would pick it up, they would smell it, and then put it in the dryer. Now, the key part of that is they would smell it. They wanted the idea of feeling clean, not necessarily of it being clean. No one would take like their shirt to a magnifying glass and compare it shirt by shirt. Okay, is this one white or is this one not? They wanted that feeling. And that's what's really, really important when it comes to your marketing, is like really selling on that feeling, but making sure you have the rationalization pieces there to be able to support it. That's a big part of what SEO is really leaning on that outside brain, that neocortex of rationalization. We're giving them the facts and figures to feel confident in moving forward. Once again, always talking about Google reviews. So your search and social media. Once again, being a really important factor is that your Instagram, your Facebook, your LinkedIn will show as results. So if you have answered an SEO question or query on your social media and it is done well, it will rank as a piece of content that will show for their results. So if they're like, what is the best places? I don't know why I keep going back to pizza. Top 10 pizza places in Peterborough. And you have made a post about it or you've made a blog about it, it will pull that piece of content to be able to show their users. Google is diversifying. It's not just showing links anymore, it's showing videos and it's showing pictures, which is why the need to actually have a social media strategy is linked to SEO, because they're affecting one another. That's what's coming up on search engines. Your website isn't going to be the main thing that users go to find their answers and their solutions, because their consumer behaviors are changing and adapting. Therefore, we have to adapt around them as well. Okay. So I guess we might have already covered kind of this question at the beginning, but who has updated their website in the last month? So that could be pictures, that could be blogs, like Nick was mentioning. Who's updated their website? Awesome. Okay. I see some hands. Yes. Okay. This is so great. This is a huge important element in strategy. And once again, we always talk about something that has like relatively low cost of action, and doesn't necessarily take you as the business owner a lot of time. And just as Nick was, kind of alluding to, blogging is huge. Much like your business listings, right? Like no one is gonna like wake up and be like, I'm gonna go read Trista's blog today. Not how that works. But Google does. Google wakes up every day and he's like, I'm gonna go read these blogs. I'm gonna crawl them. This is a great way to align with, that sales funnel. You can target your keywords and the topics you write about to your sales funnel. So if there's broader queries you want to rank for, you can write blog topics about that. And if there's more content that is in that consideration or conversion phase, so you know that when they hear or find out about X, they're more likely to work with you, then you can write about that. Who here has heard of UFOs? Anyone? Okay, that is totally fair. They're a relatively new brand, but I love them. I'm so here for them. I think they have a really cool brand. Essentially, UFOs works in the shoe recovery category. Has anyone heard of that? No. Okay, which is totally fair. So UFOs has two problems. One, they have low brand awareness, right? When you think of shoe companies, you probably think of Nike, Adidas, Vans, Converse, whatever it might be. You don't go, oh, UFOs. that's where I want to go. So that's a huge limitation for them, right? Second limitation is education about their category. They're in the shoe recovery category. No one knows what that means. So educating and aligning with what their searches might be and really understanding who your personas are. Now, it's related to SEO, but it's also more broadly related to marketing, because if you want to rank, you have to be able to know and understand what people are searching for and what your kind of ideal client is searching for. For instance, UFOs here, if you think about their personas, they work with one, people that are really athletic and don't want that, that recovery downtime. Sometimes you have to go to the gym and then you take a break off because you need to let your body recover. They want to recover faster so they can get back to doing what they love, is essentially their mission. The second person is people that are on their feet all day at work. This could be teachers, this could be nurses, this could be, I don't know, insert anything here. And then the last one would be an elderly or aging population who suffer from a lot of pain or discomfort in their feet. And once again, want to get back to doing what they love and don't want to let their walking limitations affect them. So they have three very different categories of people they're working with. Three very different people who would search for different things to find said results, right? A nurse might look for, nursing clogs. Someone else might look for a foam insert to be able to help them with their balance in their feet. Someone might be looking for active wear. So they work in such a broad breadth of place, but how are they able to show up for these results? A lot of that is through a blogging system. So talking to their different categories, right off the hop, you can see how diverse their blogs are, right? Obviously, you can see athleticism, you can see an aging population, so on and so forth. So they're taking that opportunity to put in those questions and queries and answer them so that they are an option that shows up. So really figuring out what you need in that marketing funnel, right? Your broad awareness would be, like nursing clogs, which are what these are. Nurses wear nursing clogs. So when they're looking for a new pair of shoes, that's a term or a query they're going to put in. So that would be your top funnel, your awareness funnel, getting people to come over to your site. What is something they might be looking at a consideration phase? Would they be looking at the top 5 shoes for nurses, the top 5 benefits of XYZ technology that goes in them? So what kind of information in the middle of your funnel is going to sway people to work with you, and you can write about it? It's a soft form of selling, but it's also a good way to search and rank on those engines. The more you are writing your blogs, obviously consistency matters. So people tend to start off, really hot and heavy, and they're like, "Yeah, I'm going to do 1 blog a week. I'm gonna crush it," and they usually do. They usually do really, really good for like 3 months, and then they burn out and run out of ideas. So it's okay to pace yourself. I think a good goal for anyone starting out is just like once a month. Once a month, write 250 to 500 words. Blog lengths have changed a lot. It used to be a 2,500 word blog. Now it's kind of shrunk down to 250 to 500, depending on what your industry category is. And think about your audiences and their personas, and write a blog for them. You don't necessarily have to try to sell them or whatever it might be, but write a blog for them and think about the queries they're going to be typing into Google and how you can show up as the solution for that. So it involves a little bit of that, like really getting into their head and really understanding what they're searching. Obviously, there's a couple of tools out there. I believe Answer the Public. Has anyone heard of Answer the Public? Okay. Write this down. This will be your biggest takeaway tip. Answer the Public. It is by Neil Patel. He works in marketing, but he essentially has this big system where you can type in the industry that you function in, real estate, and then you can see a whole slew of things that people are typing in to Google. So you can see what kind of questions they are. You can even see spelling mistakes that people normally do. Do they normally spell a certain word wrong, perhaps? What questions are they actually wanting, so you can answer them, so you have better direction on your blogs. You can also see how the breadth, how many people are searching for them. So if it's more people, then this is a good awareness kind of blog. If it's a more niche kind of question, then that's probably where you're going to hit them in that kind of consideration phase. So really having a strategy when you're going to write your blogs is really, really important. If you're just kind of writing them without knowing what keywords you're embedding or what queries you're answering, then yes, it's good for maintaining and updating your website, but you're losing a bit of opportunity there by sometimes writing about random topics. So I would recommend taking a look at that tool, play around with it. I think you get 2 free searches a day with it, so you might only get so far today, but check it out. Okay, so kind of circling back to the big topic of SEO. Essentially, all of this is SEO. It is all interconnected. you know, your business listings, help your website rank on Google. Your Google My Business helps you rank. It helps build confidence in a consumer in working with you, right? Just like that story that we heard about someone actually not wanting to work with someone because their Google reviews were bad. Your social media, this is gonna, if it's linked on your website, it's affecting your website ranking. Your social media is an opportunity to connect with people, build confidence, create that idea of mass intimacy where they feel heard, but also be able to answer those questions and queries for them so you can then in turn also show up on Google. It's a big beast now. And there's obviously a lot more nuances to each individual strategies, but those are kind of the immediate takeaways when it comes to SEO and ranking. SEO, in terms of that localization point, when we talk about your business functions in a very specific geographical area, once again, I come back down to realtors. If they're working in Peterborough, they likely work in the Peterborough and surrounding areas. They're not going over to like Quebec or anything, right? Like they're relatively geographically kind of specific. SEO ranking for your near me prompts are going to be really important, and infusing those near me kind of queries and kind of answering them there, and looking at where you rank in terms of where you are in your NAP system. Your NAP system is going to be one of the first places you rank for. So that's this little place over here where your address is. So 123 Water Street South, if someone is standing right on that hotspot, you're going to, you know, rank pretty quick for them. And then building out to those broader search terms, such as, you know, you want to do all of Kawartha Lakes and not just Peterborough, you need different strategies for the different locations you're functioning into. So be really mindful of that, of talking about all of the locations. The one you're immediately going to rank for is going to be the one linked in your Google My Business. If your Google My Business is based in Kingston, but you work in Peterborough, you kind of have an extra battle to push there, unfortunately. But knowing that and being really aware of that is key, because then you can curate content that talks about the local area you specifically work in. Okay. Yeah, that's the moral of the story. It's everywhere. It's interconnected. Does anyone have obviously questions? Or like an action item that they're like, okay, I learned about answer the public. That's where I'm gonna go. Does anyone have any thoughts? Yeah, Nick.
Yeah, thanks, Trista. Love the content and the information. For those of us who are either creating and haven't published their site yet, or perhaps improving it, one thing that I have yet to dive into is SEO optimization for photos on my website. Can you just quickly touch on that?
Of course. Yeah, I love that question. Ranking on your website, first off, one of the things you can do is a video banner. That's immediately actually going to help you rank. Optimization for your website. What platform are you building on?
Squarespace.
Oh, Squarespace. That's a great like home builder to work on. So Squarespace is it's a very front end builder. So it's going to be pretty user friendly to you, Nick. If you click on that photo when you're editing it, if you scroll down a little bit, it'll say SEO alt tag. Right there, that's where you can put in that SEO prompt. Essentially what you want to do is be buddy with your friend, chat, brief chat on what you're trying to do, what you're using it for, what your keywords are, and a bit about that image that you're trying to label, and it's going to give you a tag. You can copy and paste it and put it in essentially.
Sorry.
Your tag.
When you say chat, you're referring to ChatGPT. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes, you got it.
Okay.
An AI is going to be kind of like your best friend in that situation. You know, there's AI content is a funny thing. But when you pair the human element and you pair it with an AI tool, content actually ranks better. 94.69% of the time, that content outperforms solely human-made content and solely made AI content. So having that splice between who you are as like a human and using the chat kind of for efficiency purposes is really important. Obviously, human error comes into play. We spell things wrong. Maybe we don't have proper grammar and punctuation. Chat is really good for kind of taking those human elements away. So we have less errors in our text. Yeah, Nick.
So I can follow that up with one more question. If we were looking to get verification of how well done our SEO is there a website that provides screening services that you recommend? I assume perhaps that's what you do. Can you just touch on that quickly?
Yeah, for sure. First off, your builder that you're building on will give you a percentage of where you're at. It's not really going to tell you the quality of your alt tag, unfortunately, but it will tell you if there's errors or gaps that you're missing anything. So I think right in your builder is the best place to start. In terms of like that quality of your tag, it's just making sure that you're hitting on a few key elements. One is you're trying to make it as relevant to the image you're talking about as possible. So if it's someone holding an ice cream, but you're talking about chairs, that is so they disconnect, right? Because the algorithm can read what the image is, so you want to make sure that they are in line, but you want to tailor it specifically. So a good place for you to probably start, Nick, is there's an AI feature on Squarespace to make all the alt tags. So get it to make the initial ones, and it will describe to you what it's seeing as the image, and then you can go in there and you can modify it to make it more related to you and what you've got going on. Is it someone holding your Chapman's ice cream and make it more specific to you? Is it someone standing in front of an office building? Is it Jimmy in front of the C21 office in Peterborough? So it'll give you what it's already seeing, and then you can just tweak it to be more specific about what your business is and where you are.
So just to clarify, typical human nature is path of least resistance. If we wanted something, third party, a person or a program to review our website and say, here's the changes I would recommend.
Yep.
What do you recommend?
Yeah. I would recommend, we can always do, more than happy to do a report with you too. I can do this rundown. What I'm going to be able to see is where you have too much script, where you have not enough optimization. And we can, if you want to message me afterwards, Nick, I'm more than happy to run a report for you afterwards. Obviously no strings attached, just kind of like give you the lowdown of what's going on. Yeah, not sure if that helps.
Trista, we also have, thank you so much. I see Aswin's hand up, but we have Jacqueline and Basim who asked questions in the chat before. I'm just going to read them out. And Jacqueline, I'm sorry I missed your question earlier. It's, where can we view our Google ranking breakdown?
Mm-hmm.
And Basim's question is, could you please touch on how to utilize Google Tag Manager effectively?
Yep. So where can we view your Google rank down? That's kind of hard to do, honestly. One of the things you can do is obviously you can Google the general query. Once again, real estate agents in Peterborough, you're going to be able to see right away if you pop up yes or no. Also, depending on your cookies, if you've looked at your website before, it's going to favor your website. So notice that there's going to be that bit of bias in there. But once again, it's kind of working with someone to be able to do the reports. There isn't a great breadth of like free opportunities to find where you're ranking. So looking up at the search query through an incognito browser is always a great one. Am I turning up for lawyers in Peterborough and putting it in? That would be my best way to do it for free, and you can kind of figure it out that way. But yeah, great question.
And the second one is Google Tag Manager. Like, how can we utilize Google Tag Manager effectively?
Yeah. Honestly, our team handles Google Tag Manager, so someone in our Google department would probably be better to answer that question for you. But honestly, there's a wealth of resources out there, like YouTube videos. YouTube videos is the best way to kind of like learn things sometimes at a very low cost of action. You can get into like a couple $100s to get people to go through and optimize your website. Or you'll probably be able to figure out once you watch the video how to do it in about 3 hours. So I would just say watch some YouTube videos. Yes, I think there's another question. Yeah, I think your hand is raised. Go ahead.
I would like to know, what are the things to consider when building the website so that the website is SEO friendly?
Yes, yeah, UX, that's a huge part of it. I think sometimes people want the really fancy bells and whistles, but what fancy bells and whistles tend to do sometimes is slow your website down. So I would focus on speed and optimization. So, Nick, I know you were talking about going through your websites. Are your, how are your images downloaded? Did you take them as like screenshots, from Google and put them up in there? Are they the right format? Are they in a JPEG or a PNG? So having your images, making sure that they're actually in the proper format is really, really important. Um, that's one. Your UX layout, right? Is it intuitive? Is a huge part of it. If people are going to your website and they're bouncing and you have a really high bounce rate, that's not good for Google and that's not good for you either. No one's sticking around for it. So simplify it. And it's okay to like not have all the fancy bells and whistles because it's going to slow down your load speed. Your load speed is also going to affect how you're ranking. Your load speed on a desktop is always going to be quicker than your load speed on a phone. It's going to come down to your platform builders as well. Usually, if you work on like a WordPress website, your website can be a bit quicker. You can also get plugins for a WordPress website to make it load faster. Whereas if you are building with a front end builder like a Squarespace, your websites are always going to be naturally just a bit slower because you're working with that front end builder. So it's already got lots of elements and HTTP text that's attached to it. And unless you kind of get into that heavy coding element of it, will always kind of be there. So really doing your background research on what platform you're working with. I think Squarespace is the best one. There's Wix and there's GoDaddy, but Wix and GoDaddy always tend to be a bit slower. So making sure you're working in a proper builder that way. Yeah, there's so much to optimization, but is there any questions that like come to your mind after that?
No, I mean, when I build a website myself, but I am not really, into SEO. So what things should I consider when building a website?
Mhm.
Like, what things should be included, and how to make it SEO friendly?
Yeah. Things to be included. When you say that, do you mean the contents or are you strictly talking SEO?
No, anything, how you structure, I know some of the things like you need to have alt tag on images and those sort of things. Like, if you have any other suggestions on
Yeah.
how to make it SEO friendly.
Yeah. Yep. No, that's a great question. One thing we're always once again concerned about is your bounce rate. So I would focus on trimming off the fat on websites. So if there's pages, you can also, once you've launched it too, you're going to be able to go into your Squarespace builder and you're going to be able to see what pages are people going to, what are my bounce rates. So sometimes it takes launching it, trialing and erroring and seeing what the data is to be able to figure out what fat to trim. If you really love your about the area page, but no one's really going to it and it's slowing your website down, you can trim it off and then see how that is going to help your load speed, and your bounce rate will likely decrease as well. So sometimes it's just about putting it out there and seeing what the data is and how people are using it to make the best decisions. What we can do before we launch is making sure, okay, is everything a client needs, right on that homepage? Because we know if we have a lot of information on a certain page, if it takes an extra second to load, they're going to bounce. So if is everything they need to see right at that screenshot, right? What you do, where you do it, and how to contact you, some form of button, is always really, really important. If you want to be extra spicy and rank better, it always favors videos on that top homepage. Anytime you have a homepage video there, you're going to automatically rank higher. It's one of those weird checkmark things. Do you have your backlinks on there? That's also going to help you rank, right? Do you have social media linked on there? Those are signifiers that are check marks. So I would say focus on those things because those are things that are really in your control and you can determine whether it's there or not.
Okay.
Great question. Anyone else have any other questions?
I do see a question by Benjamin, but at this time we're also wary that it's 1:01 p.m. So like if you want to answer that really quickly or answer it later, I'll just read it out to you. It's with Google changing its algorithm so often and bringing in more AI like RankBrain and the helpful content system. How can someone like me, a content creator or small website owner, keep up without constantly chasing every update? What really matters long term?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. We've seen evolutions of this, even like what they thought was going to happen this time last year didn't actually come to fruition. They're working on like a ChatGPT competitor to work, with Google sort of thing. So AI optimization is huge. You talked about content creation as one of them. When you say content creation, do you mean on a social platform or do you mean on a website?
I think he mentioned a small website owner. So yeah, and Benjamin, please feel free to chime in.
Yeah. Obviously, one of the things we want to optimize for is the snippets that they're pulling. So I'm sure you guys are already seeing when you're putting in your queries now, it's pulling out, the little Gemini thing of like a snippet. Where are they pulling these snippets from is a great question, right? FAQ sections on your websites are becoming a huge way to be able to rank for those. So making sure you have your FAQs aligned with what popular search queries are, it could be a really great opportunity for you. Alongside blogs, it's a great way to just be able to create that content that people are wanting answers to. If you have no blogs, and you're not answering any of these questions and your website is just kind of one and done. I bake cookies, here's my picture of my cookies, and then you add nothing else. Why would Google ever pick you to answer their questions? You're not providing any sort of information. So the best practice is still making content aligning with the EAT algorithm. Experience, expertise, authority, and trustworthiness, right? And if you're making content that aligns with what Google's goals are, then you're going to be in favor of Google. They want to show their audience the most relevant information. And if you are able to provide that relevant information, then that's just going to help you rank. So really sticking by the EAT algorithm. That could also be like another action item too. You're wanting to write better quality blogs. Go look at like what that EAT algorithm can mean and what that means for your industry in specific. Good question. Great question, guys.
Amazing. I don't see any more questions, and I know we're almost out of time. Like we are out of time, 3 minutes over, and a lot of people thanked and left. But yeah, and thank you so much, everybody, for being so patient. And Trista, if you have some remarks at the end that you'd like to make before we wrap up, please feel free to.
Sure. If you guys have questions, honestly, about anything, or you want to talk more specific about your situation or industry, I'm on LinkedIn and it's just Trista Greer, my name. Feel free to reach out. Like, I'm a huge believer in just like the business community is supposed to stick together and help each other out. Like, that's the whole point of business, is helping other people. So if you're someone who just wants to chat, like, just let me know. There's no strings attached. I'm just out here to help someone out, I guess. So just feel free to message me with any questions, or if you want to hop on a quick one-on-one chat and kind of talk about your goals and what you got going on, I'm more than happy to help you out.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Tristan. Thank you, everyone, for being so engaged and for all of the questions and for being so active. We have 2 of our workshops here on the screen, as you can see. Thank you, Trista, for sharing, which are upcoming. One is on sales and one is on scaling. So I would be sharing an email with you with the link to the recording of this video, with the PowerPoint that Trista shared, as well as links to our upcoming workshops. I would also like to let you guys know that there is a level up. Our level up program is our basically it's a 12-week program where you get a pitch for $10,000 at the end. So if you do have a minimum viable product and you guys think you're ready, I'd also be sharing a link to the registration. So register for the level up program. It ends July 15th. So we still have 5 days. So I'll be sharing all of this information with you. Thank you so much, Trista. And if anybody has an innovative tech startup and you'd like to get consultants or just need innovation cluster to help you guys out, please feel free to email me, and we would love to set up a meeting and help you guys out. So that being said, thank you for joining in. Thank you for taking out the time. And thank you again for being such a wonderful audience and such wonderful participants.
Thank you, guys. Nick, I'm appreciative of your little emojis you got going on over here. Awesome.
Amazing.
See you guys later.
All right, guys. See everybody later. Hopefully hear from you soon. Bye bye.